Hey guys, I am Mikko from Team Unbox, and just this last weekend I won the Road to Nationals at Block 101. There were around 41 players, if I remember correctly, and to win the whole deck, I had to play what's considered to be one of the best decks at the moment, which is Cindra. I love Cindra because she is very aggressive. At the same time, she's easy to pick up and learn, but there are some small nuances that you sort of kind of have to learn to play her properly. So let's run through with the deck tech. Ooh, the perfect mascot because, fire Pokemon. Anyway, so Cindra, as I mentioned before, is a very aggressive deck that has a very synergistic set of equipment. The list that I use is mainly from ukulele vendors, but instead of putting the one-offs that make up the identity of her deck, I put in just the spice. This is my personal spice, 3 E-Strikes. Now, a lot of people disagree that E-Strikes aren't as useful in Cindra because it could lead to some really clunky hands, especially because of things like Oath of Loyalty, where it's not draconic. But my logic behind this is that there are some times that you really need to put out a card because it doesn't make the deck flow properly. So for example, if you get a handful of extenders, which I'll explain later, you can just use E-Strike, pitch one under, and it can act as your starter. If you need to block, you can block with the whole 2 cards in your hand, then you can just throw E-Strike for 7, and you're still on the offense. So it's good for matchups like Azalea, or if you really just need to block, or, depending on the situation. Also, I use this sometimes on my first turn, wherein I do Draconic Chain Link, or rather attack action number 1, attack action number 2, and then I just finish my turn with an E-Strike and then bottom the weakest card in my deck. For example, there are two clunky finishers in there, or a yellow brand with Cinder Claw. So I just go 5, bottom 1, and then draw, and then put it in my arsenal, and then I'm set up for the next turn while still doing 5 damage. So it has a lot of uses, and of course, at worst, just block with it for 3. There's no harm in that. So that's it for E-Strike. Now, as for the rest of the deck, I believe that during the past week, the deck has been discussed at length by a lot of creators. Ukulele Bender also especially has her own breakdown of the deck, which is very detailed. So rather than just reiterating the stuff that people have mentioned, I'm just going to give you a quick run through of how to play Cindra and what you need to remember when you're playing her. Because on the base level, she's very easy to play. She's an aggressive deck. And then your goal is very simple. You have to find a way to do long chain links to trigger massive momentum. Now, massive momentum has been there since the start of the game. And a lot of people already know how to play with it. And against it. So it requires 3 consecutive chain links in order to trigger. And what people traditionally do is they let the first hit through, they block the second one, and then by that time you're only left with 2 cards in hand, 1 or 2 cards in hand, and then you can't complete the whole chain link. Now Cindra bypasses this because she has access to flick knives. The great thing about flick knives is that if you flick one of your daggers onto a chain link, even if they block it completely, it will still count as a hit because massive momentum just checks if that chain link has hit or not. Now, if the dagger hits, if you flick a dagger and it hits, then it counts as a hit, and you can still continue with the mass trigger. So how it works is that you usually go with one of your starters. So the deck has a lot of starters, draconic starters. The best one that we have is Oath of Loyalty or Ignite. So you play one of these, and then usually they let it through because 4 is kind of awkward to block, plus it's just the first attack action that you have in the turn. And then you play one of your extenders, such as Display Loyalty, which is your perfect second chain link because it creates a filthy, plus it has go again, plus it has 3 attack, which is very tempting to block. So let's say they block it for 3. That's when you flick a knife So you flick knives. So even if they fully block it, it counts as a hit. Now you still have 2 chain links for your Mass of Momentum. So you only need to hit with 1 more attack action for you to draw a card. And this is where things like Blaze Headlong comes in, where it can attack for 4, which is very hard to block with it because it is a breakpoint. So hopefully they will commit more cards to it, or they can block it completely and then you get to draw a card. Either way, you win in both scenarios, because if they block with multiple cards with this, that only means that their offense during your turn is weaker, which means that you can keep more cards in hand, which means that you can mount a bigger offense during your turn. And then finally, we go to a finisher. And our default finisher for Cindra is Lava Burst. So finishers are just like that, finishers. They don't have go again, but in exchange, they do big damage. And then sometimes if you use Breaking Point instead, it has a rupture effect. It can destroy their arsenal. So if they spend cards blocking in your previous chain links, by the time you play Breakpoint, they probably won't have cards and they have to throw in armor or the rest of their hand in order to save their arsenal, or just let it get destroyed completely. Either way, it's to your advantage. So you might think that, okay, Cindra is very powerful. She is quite easy to pick up and play. Maybe she can beat everything. Well, the truth is, she does have a lot of weaknesses. Our worst matchup for Cindra are the Guardians, particularly Victor and Jarl, for different purposes. I mean, Victor has really great defense, especially with rounds. There's no way you're winning it. So what happens is that they can block all of your chain links and then hit you back with their weapon, and then it will just snowball into an advantage. Like, they can drag the game on and on and on, and then probably fatigue you or just throw a lot of disruption and then just stop right there and then, because you gotta respect it. For Jarl, it's a different case because they want you to play, they play a lot of Frostbites and stuff that you need to pay. Usually you can play your stuff for free, but with Jarl, when you have Frostbites, you have to pay for them. So we're actually using 2 attack action cards rather than just paying for 1 then attacking with the other. And that slows you down completely, wherein they can just take over the game from there. It's a really uphill battle for both.
Okay, so ending natin, just say na the deck list is linked down below.
Okay.
And sabi mo lang for them to follow the channel for more updates in the future.
Okay. So if you're interested in playing Cindra, and I think you should, she's a really fun hero, and really powerful too, well, you can find my deck list down below in the description. Also, please be sure to follow our channel, Unbox Fab, for more updates in the future. Thank you guys, and good luck in your RTNs. Bye-bye.
Yay!